Hey everyone, we recently got a big comeback to the All Kill chapter. This brought along a bunch of new stuff, as well as a lot of great quality of life features and changes. Let's take a look today. Starting out, we have the new survivor, Kwon Tae-young, a survivor whose background is in tech development, with him making a digital female version of the Trickster to rival him, eventually leading to Trickster finding out about him and shoving him out a window, as you do. He looks great and comes along with 3 new perks as always. Flow State is a perk that gains tokens each time a generator is completed, up to 5, and allows you to heal and unhook faster, and also cleanse totems 10% faster for each token. It's sort of like the survivor version of Fire Up, and arguably a better version, with healing and unhooking speeds being very beneficial. This perk I think has a really good chance of being fairly meta honestly, with it only ramping up as the match goes on, and becomes more and more intense. If you're stuck in a 3-gen with this thing, you'll have a permanent 40% bonus to heals at that point, which is wildly strong. A Place for Us is a perk that utilizes the elusive status, giving it to you and a teammate when you heal them, with this suppressing all noises or tracking elements. It also has this extra quirk where if you heal the obsession, then elusive lasts for an additional 30 seconds. This seems like a pretty bad perk to be honest, and would be far better if the 30-second bonus just applied the whole time for any survivor heal. That would make this perk actually decently worthwhile, I'd say. Currently it seems super mid, I think. It could be fun and interesting to try and pull off a heal mid-chase or something though, a bit like with Bite the Bullet. It's kind of similar to that perk actually, but that will be very tough, I imagine. 5 Moves Ahead is his final perk, and one which activates when you're being chased or if you're inside the killer's terror radius. When active, it reveals the auras of the 5 closest pallets or windows, and it also lets you drop pallets 50% faster, which is crazy, which is really crazy. It does have a 30-second cooldown for this drop speed part of it though. This could be wildly strong and almost a new, better windows of opportunity with the extra drop speed. Whilst the auras are less accessible, just having 5 things revealed, arguably this is all you need to loop the area you're in. The extra drop speed on pallets is really good and can stop those moments where you get swung through a pallet or something like that because it drops faster, so this is really good. Overall, I'm very satisfied with these perks and I think they'll make for good additions to the game, maybe aside just that one perk which needs a bit of a tweak. The other big deal of this patch is the new map and realm, Trickster's Delusion, a map that has been heavily requested over the years, featuring a neon city similar to the All Kill chapter home screen that we had way back in 2021. So it took 5 years, but it's here and it looks amazing. The entire map is very highly detailed, featuring a bunch of small details and cool varied locations, with the entire place being set inside a city, which is something we've not really seen before. There's like modern cars around and like these huge like skyscrapers. It's awesome. The performance of this map also appears very stable as well, likely in part due to it being on the smaller side actually. However, despite being small, it plays very well due to having so many winding passages within the structures. It's weirdly easy to get lost in this place, even though the map as a whole is quite small and can be traversed rather quickly. I don't really have any notes for this map. It's just entirely positive, to be honest. I mean, we've waited for something like this for so long, and it's finally here, and it's really great, so I'm very happy. The 2 super minor issues I had with it were that the red stain was not as visible due to this, like, the neon lighting, I guess. It sort of distorted the red stain a bit, or made it look kind of faint, making it harder to discern the killer position. I'd also say the map is pretty brutal for slower characters, with the windy nature of it making it easy to lose chase. A character like, I don't know, Ghostface for example, I think will struggle quite a bit on this map. The third big thing we got in this chapter was the Trickster rework, which seems to be substituting the fact that there's no new killer for this chapter. The core of this rework is his power, however he's also received new lobby animations, and also new voice lines in-game, with him doing new chuckles and sighs too. You'll also notice that when he lands blades, they do a cool little animation. There's like a bit of a flair to it. The actual gameplay of him as well is also so much snappier in feel. It's hard to visualize it, but once you play him you'll notice that he feels cleaner and snappier when swinging, throwing blades, and also opening lockers and stuff like that. He feels like modernized, I guess. So visually, really awesome. Power-wise, I do, however, find the rework a bit lackluster, if I'm being honest. The main change made to Trickster is that he now functions on a leveling up system which displays with different ranks, called style ranks. You start out at the lowest E rank, and as you toss blades, hit survivors, or break things, you slowly level this up until you hit the S tier, or the S rank, where main event is available. You also get extra points for threading the needle or getting long shots, which level up your ranks insanely fast, really insanely fast. I really love how this looks visually with the ranking up. It's very visually satisfying and is a cool little animation too, and it's almost like a mini game to play whilst you're on Trickster. Gameplay wise, it's fine though, I think. Although it does encourage you to play weirdly, with the ranks tearing up faster if you do combos of things like tossing blades, then breaking a pallet. It's a bit awkward, I think, and people aren't going to go out of their way to use this system as intended. They're just going to throw blades for the most part, I think. So I do like the idea behind the system, but I don't think it really reworks him, I'd say. He's still the same-ish feeling Trickster, just now having a bit more visual flair and a meter at the top. It's also a rather punishing system sometimes, as if survivors are stealthing, you get punished for not finding anyone, which just kind of sucks, to be honest. Small nitpick too, but I don't particularly like how central the style ranks are. I think it'd be better off in the corner, down by the power, or something like that. It feels a bit intrusive being so central, I think. The actual ranking up bonus is largely a change to throw speed and locker reloads up until S rank, which is where you get the big bonus. At S rank, all survivors within 44 meters are revealed to you with Killer Instinct. You gain a 44 meter terror radius as well, which is really cool. Your lacerations decay slower, your lullaby is disabled, blade throw rate and locker reloads hit the max, and you unlock main event. So you become highly powerful and very dangerous upon hitting S tier. And yeah, it's a lot of fun being in this state. It does feel powerful. It does also not last particularly long though. You also retain more of your style rank progress depending on when you cancel main event. His rework wasn't just the style ranks though. He also got a number of other changes, largely number alterations, but ones that do make quite a big difference. He's now returned back to being a 4.4 character, meaning he's the same speed as other ranged killers like Huntress and Deathslinger. He has a smaller terror radius at just 24 meters, which is really nice. His blade throw speed is slightly faster too and slightly snappier. He also now speeds up his throw speed the more consecutive blades he throws, but he also slows down in movement speed as a trade-off. Overall, I do think this movement speed nerf feels like a bit too much, and whilst I do love the visuals of the style ranks, I think they could be less intrusive and potentially more linear, just relying on knives. Trickster's add-ons also got a big overhaul. I won't go over every single one, but some of the cool ones are Memento Blades, which show off a reticule when aiming, which is nice as an option. Lucky Blade gives you a random bonus for every 8th blade thrown and landed. Ripper Brace gives you a 3% bonus to a number of actions based on your style rank. Cut Through You Single gives a 1% stackable haste bonus each time you reach a new style rank. I really love how creative these add-ons are, and I really appreciate when we get cool and unique effects like this. I especially like the random effect on the 8th blade one. That one's so cool. Iridescent wise, they're okay. I do think they could be better though. Iridescent Photocard provides a double duration of main event and reveals survivors to you during it. Death Row's compilation is a bit disappointing, just returning half your blades to your post main event. That's pretty boring. The other huge and really cool update we got was to prestige rewards. They exist now, more substantially at least. There's not much to say about them, but now there's a proper progression bar for prestige, which can be leveled up and are viewable by clicking your prestige level. You can see there's now additional icon rewards, which have increasingly cool effects around the respective character's portrait. It's really awesome, and I hope in the future this gets expanded on more and we get even more cool things to unlock through prestige. This is a really great addition though, and overall very happy about this. Okay, so now we're on to the quality of life. We've gotten some truly colossal quality of life features that will really help the game, I think. The first being perks getting rewritten. This change simply meaning that all perks have had their descriptions updated to have much less information, but be far more concise in their effect. This is a huge benefit for perks which have often appeared rather bloated in the past and overly complicated or contrived in their wording, so I personally welcome this change. It's also a bit more intuitive, with there being a second tab that pops out and explains any status effects that are present within the perk. like exhausted for example. The part of the update I don't like is to do with some of the wording changes that came along with it. Now some perks make reference to various versions of vaulting or pallet breaking, which are dubbed either special or basic. It results in really clunky wording, like saying something activates upon a basic break. It's needlessly clunky in my opinion, and just quite confusing honestly, which feels like it's not in the interest or point of these changes, which are trying to simplify things. It doesn't read well, basically. I think it is just meant for clarification purposes though, so you know exactly what activates these perks, so I'm not entirely against it, so yeah, just a nitpick for me. The other big update was customizable auras, an update which lets you pick and choose which color of aura you want to represent everything in the game, with there being a wide selection available, far wider than that of the scratch marks. These colors I'm sure will be greatly helpful for colorblind players too, to better their experience. It can also be used for stuff like making the game look super cute and pink, or you can go with a gameplay advantage and pick the brightest colors, or go hard mode and pick like grey for everything. I don't know. It's nice to have these options, much like the scratch mark colors, as they simply provide more options and ability to customize how you want to play. Next up is the change to fog vials, which have been buffed in a very simple way. They now have 2 additional charges at base and have a more consistent cloud and coloring across different realms, standardizing it more than before. This should definitely help them out, but I do think even with this, they're in a bit of a weird spot still. But that's maybe just a survivor item issue in general, with them always having a problem of some kind, to be honest. They are actually quite substantially buffed, I would argue, overall now. Now the cloud is much more consistent when popped and creates a thick white screen from the exterior. Although the interior is very easy to see through, even as a killer, I do still prefer them this way, as they can create genuinely good cover now, where before they were very hit or miss. So overall I like this change, and the extra charges will be very helpful. We further had a number of changes to some perks, some of which belong to all-kill character Yunjin. Survivor perk changes consist of Fast Track getting a huge buff, where it now removes up to 9% of a generator's total progress after hitting a great skill check, with tokens being earned in the same way, by survivors getting hooked. This is really good now, just being able to remove huge chunks permanently off of gens. Self-preservation is also much better than its useless state before, with it providing elusive for 30 seconds when someone else is hooked, which means you're safe from perks like barbecue, which is pretty useful to be honest. This is a good counter to that. Unbreakable got a nerf technically, with it now only working if a killer specifically downs you, so I guess you can't use it with like plot twist. I'm not sure what this change was for, to be honest, probably something like that. Killer perk changes consist of Hex crowd control now blocking the first 6 windows that are vaulted, and also allowing you to vault 15% faster, and seeing where the blocked windows are. This is overall better I'd say, and makes the Hex a far bigger threat for the survivors to eliminate and seek out quicker. It also only activates after someone has vaulted something, which is nice as it keeps it hidden very early into the trial. Pop Goes the Weasel was reworked to now remove 15% of the total gen progress, where before it was 20% of the overall progress. I'd say is a buff honestly, although it's a bit up in the air I suppose. Finally, Terminus was updated to trigger a little sooner to block survivor healing perks, which is good. There were also some fairly minor changes to Stranger Things Vecna, with him getting a small nerf to a World Breaker mode, with it being shorter, but also getting some slight buffs like an adjustment to his sound cues and lunge speed. Also a bunch of add-ons were reworked too. Kaneki had some small adjustments to how his reticule sticks, I'm not entirely certain what that means, and also his automatic hit detection was looked at, so that sounds good. I think this is just like quality of life stuff. A handful of perks were also changed very slightly in terms of interactions, but these are basically just bug fixes. Outside of this update, we got an update on the Grimoire killer and their power, with it being showcased during the dev livestream. It has 2 abilities we know of so far, the first being a fireable beam of light. Originally this was a much simpler design, simply blasting out of the hands, but it was changed to a beam that comes down from the sky and can be sort of swung across the map almost to cause damage. It looks quite cool as it is now, but this is clearly very early days for this ability, and this will be adjusted a lot I imagine. The second ability allows the killer to banish the survivors to another realm, where they have to collect shards to return back to the trial grounds, with you being on a time limit as your hook meter slowly depletes the longer you're in there. This looks like a great concept, and I'm really excited to see it developed more in the future as we get closer to seeing this chapter, which is presumably coming out close to the end of 2026 or potentially early early into 2027. To conclude, I really love this chapter. It's great and feels very content-filled despite not having a new killer, which is very impressive. I do find it slightly disappointing that Yunjin wasn't included more, both in the new lore and also in the updates to All Kill, not receiving any new voice lines or anything, although I do think her perks were reworked pretty exceptionally, which is great. Alright, well, that's gonna do it. Let me know your thoughts as always down below. Thanks, and goodbye.